Sweet, sweet revenge. Woman stands up to a lazy co-worker and quits her job in dramatic fashion. To hear more stories like this one, be sure to like this video, and subscribe to StoryBlend. To be the first to hear these stories, click the notification bell, and we'll let you know the moment we have a new story to tell. A revenge best served festive. Sometimes exacting your revenge doesn't comply with the season, or the holidays. This was the case for one Reddit user, we'll call her Sally, after she quit her job in glorious fashion after continuous altercations with her lazy and condescending co-worker. This is how it unfolded. Living with friends and a new job. A few years ago, Sally had made the decision to move in with some of her best friends, one of which got her a job with her at a local gas station. Sally was assigned the night shift, which she was happy about as it was relatively easy and just required workers to restock shelves, take inventory, keep coffee fresh for the off chance of a customer coming into the store, and restocking the back cooler. The back cooler proved to be the most daunting of all the tasks, as it would take one worker at least 2 hours to complete the restock all while standing in a -40-degree environment. All of these tasks are very simple to manage as long as both employees running the store pull their weight. This is where the coworker from Hades, we'll call her Denise, comes in. I'm doing inventory on the smokes. When Denise comes in for her night shift, she would either go straight to the back room and hang out, or she would stand behind the front counter and do inventory on the smokes, where she would fake count the packs of smokes located on the wall so that no one would bother her. This would go on for hours, which wasn't plausible, but Denise did not care. She would then make the other employee who was unfortunate enough to be scheduled with her to complete all of the required tasks for the night staff. If they asked for help, Denise would simply respond, I can't, I have to finish counting the smokes. She would even ignore customers as they came into the store or if they tried to come up to the counter to pay. Also, when people couldn't work and needed a shift covered, everyone knew not to ask Denise as she would promptly respond no and hang up on them. If they were talking over the phone, it was especially cold if they had to talk to her in person. She was simply the worst employee, and the hard-working employees like Sally had no idea how someone like Denise still had a job. That's when Sally discovered Denise's trick to staying on management's good side. Lying through her teeth. Lo and behold, Denise was telling the store manager that the people she worked her shifts with were all slacking, and in fact she was the one doing all of the work. Sally even got a scolding from her manager and was told to support Denise better. What made it worse was that the manager had full access to the store's cameras and could easily check to see who was telling the truth, but he instead decided it was a better idea to trust one person's statement and scold the other without real merit. That was when Sally decided enough was enough and that she would start looking for a better job, but not before figuring out a plan to get back at Denise one final time. Self-proclaimed assistant manager. Before getting into Sally's revenge plot, there were a few things that needed to be laid out. Now that Denise was building a rapport with the manager, she began to get a big ego and demand employees do her bidding around the store, even though her title had not changed and she was still of equal rank to all of the other workers. Eventually, the manager started to train her as a shift lead, which was still under the rank of assistant manager but did come a few more responsibilities. With these new responsibilities, Denise's head began to swell even more with arrogance and power. Because of her new training, Denise thought it would make her look important if she carried a clipboard around the store, jotting down notes as to when could be improved or of random thoughts that she thought the team would care to hear. The team did not care to hear anything she said, but she had convinced the manager to schedule staff-wide meetings every week that were pointless and wasted 20 minutes of everyone's time. During one of these meetings, however, Denise proposed an improvement to store efficiency by having each employee who was working a shift dedicate at least 1 hour each to restocking the back coolers so that the work could be distributed evenly, rather than just one person stand in the back for hours at a time. It was a great idea. However, the only problem was that Denise would still never go into the cooler, so whoever she was working with would still carry all of the weight, but Denise would still never see any punishment and receive all of the praise from management. Denise was trying very hard to establish power over her co-workers, and her plan was working perfectly. But little did she know that her scheme would soon unravel. Time for revenge. Sally was working very hard to find a new job, and successfully landed an interview for a much better position with better pay and benefits. Weeks passed and she continued to put up with Denise's nonsense as she awaited the new company's decision. Much to her delight, Sally was offered the position and could start as soon as she wanted. Although she wanted to leave her job as soon as she could, if she had her way she would have left right in that instance. Sally knew that it would be smart to put in her 2 weeks' notice to be respectful to her other co-workers. Sally also decided it would give her plenty of time to plan a way to get revenge on both Denise and her manager. She bode her time as her paperwork was being approved, and once she was notified that the new position was good to go, she headed over to the store to put her 2 weeks' notice in. Unfortunately, Denise was not in, nor was the manager, so she decided to hold out on enacting her plan immediately. Instead, she spoke to her shift lead and let them know that she was putting her 2 weeks in. The shift lead understood the type of worker that Sally was and was fairly disappointed to hear that she had decided to leave, but also understood why she needed to move on. Sally had told her shift lead that she was plotting to get back at Denise for her wrongdoings against the entire staff, and the shift lead was immediately on board to help in any way she could. Then and there, she had her final shift scheduled with none other than Denise on none other than Christmas Day, much to Sally's delight. She then began to put the pieces in place, carrying out the plan. In the 2 weeks leading up to her final shift, Sally continued to work hard and acted as if she had no intention in leaving to throw both Denise and the manager off her scent. Denise showed no signs of being a better co-worker, and therefore Sally showed no remorse in continuing to lay the foundation of her plans. In her second-to-last shift, Sally snuck into the manager's office and to her benefit found Denise's coveted clipboard. Now, Sally did have some respect, so she did not write anything profane or disrespectful in Denise's notes, but she did put the board on top of a tall filing cabinet, a place where she knew the height inclined, aka Denise, would not be able to see it or reach it. It was the ultimate petty move and put a big smile on Sally's face. Sally then made her way back into the main store area and continued her duties as usual until the end of her shift. Merry Christmas, ya filthy animals. Sally's last day of work was finally upon her. She was scheduled for a split shift, where she would first work from 7 to 10 p.m. with one of her roommates and then wrap up the night with Denise from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Her shift started with lots of laughs and fun with her friend and roommate as the store was not very busy, but since it was Christmas, the shop's customer population began ramping up rather quickly as the night went on. Sally's roommate left almost exactly at 10 p.m. as the craziness of the store was a lot to handle, and go figure, Denise was nowhere to be found. Sally ended up being able to manage the chaos for about 15 minutes on her own, but then began to get overwhelmed by the sheer volume of last-minute Christmas shoppers. Denise finally decided to arrive and begrudgingly took her time to get situated within the store. This put Sally's blood into a boil. Suddenly, she did not care about her lavish plan to humiliate Denise in front of customers nor to let her know how she made working there a living nightmare. Instead, she decided to get revenge in a much more satisfying way. Good luck. As Denise walked up to the counter to count the smokes again, Sally cut her off, looked her in the eyes and said Merry Christmas. I quit. After those words left her lips, Sally couldn't help but sport a huge smile. Denise had a very dumbfounded look on her face, and after a few moments of silence, which led to the cash register line to pile up quickly, she replied, "You're kidding, right?" Sally simply answered without hesitation, "Well, if I was kidding it wouldn't be much of a Merry Christmas, would it?" And then pushed her way out of the store through a sea of customers and towards her car. Sally looked back just once to see a distraught Denise trying to corral the crowd over to the register in an ill attempt to calm the festive madness. Although Sally didn't get to carry out her initial plan, she was still able to get her revenge, and got to leave early on a Christmas shift to boot. Mischief managed. The next day, Sally's best friend filled her in on the turmoil she had caused the night before. Apparently right after Sally left, Denise decided to call every other employee in the book and force them to come work the shift with her, who all calmly replied no and hung up. Karma served. However, that wasn't all. After the manager heard about the situation down at the store, he decided to leave his home and help close out at the store. Double karma served. It was beginning to look as if Sally's spur-of-the-moment plan was working out better than her initial plan. The following Denise ran team meeting was also one for the record books. Denise had a near meltdown after she couldn't find her clipboard. Someone had hidden it a few days before, if you didn't remember, and spent close to 30 minutes trying to find it as she couldn't remember what notes she wanted to address. After another near 30 minutes of Denise ranting and complaining, everyone who went to the meeting left and went home without taking any new information with them. After a few more meetings with a ranting Denise, the manager decided to put an end to the meetings, thus taking a large chunk of Denise's power. Shortly after the holiday season, with Denise's ego destroyed and power ultimately gone, she decided to leave herself and go on to different ventures. Sally started her new job and was absolutely loving it. It had better hours, responsibilities that she enjoyed, and no co-workers who were distracting or not pulling their weight. She decided that she truly had made the best choice and would not have done anything differently. Now, every time she walks into a gas station of the same name, she can't help but smile. Was she right? Was Sally in the right by leaving Denise and her boss out to dry like that on a holiday? Or was it completely warranted? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for listening. Let us know what you thought of this story in the comments below, and if you want to hear more stories like this one, like this video and subscribe to Story Blend.